a joint deep down in my heart. I'm waking up with your love from the start. I'm chasing the rainbow through the rain. I know it's gonna be a beautiful day.
Hello, everyone, and again, welcome back to Coffee. You know what coffee stands for. Conversations of friends of faith to encourage and equip. It's a place that I love because I'm able to bring friends in to introduce them to you, and most of them you already know. It's just to welcome them back. And such is the case today. You are going to recognize this name, and you're going to be so excited to get some behind the scenes thinking about this incredible man behind all the many things that he does. He's a visionary media entrepreneur. He's the CEO of Canyon Star TV. He's an award-winning country music singer and songwriter, recording artist, performer, and producer. Once living in the Southwest, he spent a lot of his time in Colorado before moving to where he now resides just outside Nashville, where he is building something that I just makes my heart so happy as a mom and a grandmom. He's building a wholesome family media network focused on American and country lifestyles. Friends, it doesn't get any better than this, and I'm so excited to bring into the show today Joey Kenyon. Joey, come on in. Hey, buddy, thanks so much.
Well, golly, I've been looking forward to this interview for a long time. I'm so proud to be on your show, Kim. Thank you.
Aw, you honor me in such a way. Thank you so much. And can I just say, everything you're doing is so amazing. And all the things you have accomplished, all these number one hits, all these songs that you're doing, the writing, the producing. But Joey, my husband and I had the opportunity to sit with you outside of Nashville a few months ago. And we both walked away going, wow, he is the real deal. I mean, his heart and how much you love people and the Lord just touched us in such a way. So thank you for being so authentic and real in your relationship with Jesus.
Well, thank you so much, Kim. I mean, you talk about the success of my music career and now my TV show and also the network Canyon Star TV, but I couldn't ever do this without the Lord's hand upon this and on me. I just give him all the glory each and every single day, and I'm always grateful.
Mm-hmm. And that's so apparent in not only how you do things, but how you've been willing to move around and do whatever it is that God would have you to do. One of the things that I love to do is I like to just kind of go back in time and, what were the things that built this person named Joey Kenyon? Did it start with your desire to do TV? Did it start with your desire to sing, your acting? What was the building of Joey Kenyon? Where did it start?
Well, I'm not any different than most folks. I mean, everybody has a past, and I grew up oldest of six kids in a small town in California, and there was always music around, and sports and these kinds of things. So those were with my folks, those were the foundations of the beginnings of my life. And then, as you get older, you get a little more independent and you start picking and choosing what things you like and what you want to do. For me, baseball was my number one priority. I wanted to be a professional baseball pitcher. I came close, but during that time, I learned to play guitar and I loved to sing. So those things were going on in my early years, and then I moved to Colorado at the end of my baseball career, at the end of college as well. And I spent most of my life in Colorado, and that's really where after a rotator cuff injury, I just moved right into music, and that's how that started. And from there, recording in studios thanks to my producer, Curtis Stone, I was in some of the finest recording studios in LA at the time, and I would fly from Colorado to record there. And then, in the mid 80s, I wanted to learn the production business. And so, me, my mom always told me you could do anything you want to do, and that's not anything new to a lot of people, but that I believed her, so I did everything. I did I wanted to do the music and the production, and I even acted in live theater and these kinds of things because I believed her and I did it. And I didn't. The biggest thing that I learned, Kim, is I never wanted to be one of those people that had a regret later on in life. Oh, I could have done this. I could have been this. I just never wanted to be one of those people. So I just did everything, and so that pretty much, in a nutshell, that brought me to where we are today.
Joy, is it okay? I want to backtrack. Thank you for sharing all that. I want to backtrack for just a minute.
Sure.
When you talk about the baseball, I know the love of a baseball. Both of my boys played baseball. My oldest son was coming out of high school. He had 200 colleges ready to sign him and 3 pro teams. He was exceptional, like you a picture. Loved it. Felt like that was what God wanted him to do. On the Little League World Series, he was known as the kid who carried the cross in his pocket. I mean, he just felt like God's. I mean, he would eat, breathe, and sleep baseball. But the injury, rotator cuff, took it away, just a snap, and it was gone. All his dreams were gone. I listened to you talk about that, and then it seems as though there was an easy transition to something else. Were there moments, and I'm bringing this up because I feel like that's a lost dream. I feel like that our audience, we have a lot of people who have lost dreams. They really felt like God had them on the path to something, and then within a minute, like there was a car accident and your fiance is killed, or in a minute, you lose the baby that you had been carrying for 8 months. In a minute, something can happen. A tornado comes through. So I feel like there are a lot of people that are in those situations of, wait a minute, everything I thought God had planned for me has just been wiped away. So can we go back there, and can you tell us how did you transition? Because that had to feel like a great loss in your life.
You may find this very ironic, but much like your son, I heard the snap in my
Yes.
rotator, and back then, that was a career-ending deal. All right,
Yes.
they don't have what they have today back then. So I knew at that moment, and I was with a friend of mine, and I said, "My career's over. My baseball career's over." And he said, "What?" I said, "I just snapped one or two of the bands in my shoulder in my rotator cuff." So,
Yeah.
what did I do? I did not sulk about it. I had a very, very good career. I was an all Southern California pitcher, all CIF, awards, MVPs, all that. So just to have that, I was very grateful to be that good in baseball. But at that time, my love for music just overwhelmed any negative or pitiful feeling. I just said, "Wow, guess what? I
Yes.
have another career that's right there." And so I just looked at it as an incredible gift that I had that. A lot of people in that situation would go, "Well, let's see, I guess I'm going to have to work with my dad's business or work at the hardware store and everything." Not that that's a bad thing. It's just that in my instance, I had another full career to just transition from in a somewhat of an easy way. So that's how that happened. Yeah.
Joy, that is really wonderful, and I think that what that says to the audience, especially moms and people with that are raising these voices, to make sure that you don't put all your hopes and dreams in one thing.
I
Always, right?
No, you're so right, and they should always, parents should always encourage their kids. Look, you love to do this, but make sure you have that. Just what would you do if that ended tomorrow? What would
Right.
you do? Well, figure out what that to do is, and it would make a lot less heartache on an individual transforming to another career. So yes.
Absolutely. And I think that speaks to even us as adults now. It's like when you are going in a direction towards something that you think God is taking you in, to keep your mind fluid for His will. So that when you do hit the stops, that you are fluid and it doesn't seem um, like such a downward spiral that you can't recover from. Would you agree?
Well, more than agree, absolutely. And that takes me to a point, and I know we talked about this at lunch with you and your husband Lee. You don't know that things like a baseball career that failed or not failed, but just didn't work out, or maybe your life's dream didn't work out. What you don't understand is there's a reason the Lord does these things. And it's to groom you to
Yes.
ultimately do what He wants you to do.
Yes.
So that happened directly with me. He groomed me for so many different things. And then when the network situation and my idea of doing the network came along, it just hit me like a ton of bricks that, you know what, all of these past decades, He's been grooming me to
Yeah.
head up and do this network, Canyon Star TV. So I wanted to interject that. So
Well, and Romans 8:28, for all these things work together for the good of those who are called according to my name. His our good and God's glory. And so I think that if we can keep the mind, the mind is our greatest battlefield, isn't it? If
that's
we
it.
but align with God's word, then we can navigate this world a whole lot easier. And it's a constant realign for me. It's a constant realigning my what the world is telling me versus what the word is saying to me. So thank you for letting me go off on that. I know that we hadn't planned on talking about that, but that's one of the things I love about the show is that we allow God the freedom, and I feel like that spoke to a lot of people. Maybe there are a lot of people right now, Joey, that are just feeling lost because they're in the stages of where something has been taken away and trying to figure out what is next. So those are great words of encouragement. Thank you so
Oh,
much.
absolutely. And I truly do hopes that that opens the eyes of certain people and
Yes.
they'll go, you know what, I can go and do this or I can do that. It's all for the good of the
Yeah.
Lord. You're right.
And I am sure that all of those baseball awards helped you get the confidence to earn all those awards that are hanging on your wall right now.
Well,
So it doesn't,
yeah,
it's all, but
yeah.
truly, isn't it all building, right?
I traded baseball trophies for music and television.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
those are, hey, listen, I'm proud of that, but
Oh, I
that's
know.
just not what it's all about is getting awards. It just says that you're doing something right, and that's a good
And it's so important to
thing.
show, we were talking to someone yesterday and they were showing some awards that we had won. And I said, why is this important? And I wanted them to understand it. And I know it's your heart too. The reason that you need to see the ways that coffee or the TV shows have been honored, your production, what you've done, your singing, is because to me, it just shows off what God can do through a human.
If if the Lord can take a guy like me who in his early years and even a little bit later who made a lot of bad choices and you know didn't take the right path and was leaning on his own understanding all the time, and turn it around and turn me around to understand what it's really about. He can certainly do that to anyone. And listen, I certainly don't have the answers to everything, but I know who does, and
Yes.
that's where I go. And when tough, terrible things happen, I don't question it because I know I'm covered. I know I'm protected with the Holy Spirit. I know all of this is just, you know what it is? It's a learning lesson, and it's there for a reason. And you
Yeah.
got to figure out what that reason is. Okay, Lord, why am I having this tough time when I'm always in your corner and all of that? Oh, well, it's not that he wants to do bad things to you. He's trying to get your attention in one way or another.
Yes. Yeah. I so believe that, Joey. I so believe that. Everything you said is like if we could begin, our theme this year in my nonprofit is like last year was living free in 23. So basically everything I taught on was living free. This year, God gave us the theme stepping into your more in 24. And one of the things that God just shared with me today that your statement just pricked in my mind that probably maybe I need to say is that many times we feel less, and that working as a counselor or working with different people all the time, I'm hearing people how they always feel less and they see it as a negative. But what if God is revealing your less so that he can take you to your more?
Well, that just goes with when I am weak, I am strong.
Yes. Yes.
Absolutely.
And it's having that mindset that when you feel less or when you feel weak, that it opens up the possibility and the untapped potential of what God really wants to do within us. And so, like with your baseball, the ending of that could have been so destructive and diminished everything about you, but you were able to step into, okay, well, this is not the way God wants me to go. So there has to be something else. And so you were able to step in that. I just believe that is we need to write a book about that because I just feel like that is just so powerful to
Well,
realign our minds with the truth of what God is really trying to say to us. He's not trying to say you're not good enough to do that. He's saying there's so much more for you to do.
Kim, the hardest thing, and I can just kind of say this in general because I've seen it, you've seen it. The hardest thing for even a Christian to do is to relinquish control of their life.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
when you understand that you are surrendering, when you truly 110% surrender your life to the Lord, you're saying, hey, take the reins and tell me what to do. Because me, I go, listen, I already played that game and it didn't work out for me,
Yes.
Lord. And that's part of my testimony of what happened to me when I was saved is I just said, Lord, I said, I'm tired. I can't do this anymore. Take me, I'm yours. And that's the hardest thing for even so-called Christians who haven't 100% surrendered themselves to the Lord and his guidance and all of that. I can only encourage those out there that are Christian or not Christian to say, hey, there is such a better way. There is a better way. You will smile more, you'll sleep better, you'll feel so much like a person that you've never been before. You just surrender yourself, let the Lord handle things and take everything to him. And they have to be willing to be patient because when you pray to the Lord, there's three answers: yes, no, and wait.
Yes.
You have to be able to understand all of those things. And when you surrender yourself to the Lord, that's another path. That's another journey of being a Christian and learning how to be a Christian and go through those peaks and valleys because it's not easy being a Christian. but
No.
it's so worthwhile.
I always say it's not easy, but it's effective.
Yeah.
Joy, I just know that, and I know that but I have to do this because I know a lot of people are going, well, wait a minute. I don't understand what brought him to the point to where he surrendered. And I know I've listened to the stories, I've listened to your testimonies. It's such a beautiful story. But could you, in a couple minutes, just maybe share with our people what it was or what that looked like for you when you just surrendered? I mean, what brought you to that point of just surrendering?
That's I've been saved for 24 years, and every time I talk about my testimony, uh, I I look at myself as that person back then, and I tear up about these things of what I used to be. But I in 2000, I had stopped performing in music because I was tired of jumping through the hoops trying to get signed to a record label. So I was still writing, but I wasn't performing, and I was hardly even playing my guitar. I was at a job that I didn't really, it was just a job to pay the bills. I wasn't sure what I was going to do. I thought, wow, I was this great baseball player, and I've been on TV, and I've done this and that, and now look at me. I just, what is it? So I woke up one morning at 6 in the morning, which back in those days I didn't do. and I pulled out back then the yellow pages, that big thick yellow pages.
Yes.
I was looking for a church. Now, in my younger years as a kid and all that, I was raised Catholic, but that was not for me. I left that a long time ago, so I didn't want to go to a denominational church, So I was flipping through the pages of the yellow pages, and there was this little ad that would come up, and I'd flip and back and forth, and then this ad would come up, and it would kind of like be looking at me, and I'm going. So after 10, 15 minutes of looking around and reading, this ad comes up again, and I go, geez, okay, Orchard Road Christian Center. This is a Marilyn Hickey ministry. Okay, that's her ministry.
Yeah.
And I go, I guess I'm supposed to go there, So I guess, okay, I will. So it happened to be that night was Wednesday, and they had a Wednesday night service. And I go, okay, I'm going to go there, and I don't want to be influenced by anybody. I just want to sit where I want to sit. And I went upstairs to the balcony where the sound man was, and nobody was up there, and everybody else was down at the bottom level. And I thought, okay, this is good. I can just watch and listen. So I was like leaning over the rail like this and saying, okay, what do you got? And the pastor, Wally at the time, Marilyn's husband, read the messages and all of that, and then he gave way to the band, and I saw that there was a choir there and the front line and a very good band, and I'm listening to the music, and it's good for that. And then the second song came on, and the song was called Jehovah Jireh, and in that particular the church there, they had on both sides the big screens, so you could see the lyrics and all of that and sing along and whatever. So I was up there like this and watching, and Jehovah Jireh comes on, and my goodness, never happened to me in my whole life. I'm watching the screen and I'm looking at the lyrics, and they're just literally coming at me. These lyrics are coming at me like floating through the air into me. And I'm just looking and I'm going, what? And it was at that moment I understood what he was doing. And I literally said, okay, I'm tired. I said, you've got me, Lord. I said, I'm yours. So from that moment, I that was the defining moment of my life. And from that moment, everything changed. Everything changed. Uh, I can't go through the list of what had changed, but everything changed in a bright. It was like a gigantic bright light in my life opened up, and I had direction, and I had true direction, and He just was engulfed my heart, and I said, "I'm serving you. I can't serve me anymore. I don't know what I'm doing." So that's the thumbnail Reader's Digest version.
Joey, I know that is, thank you so much for taking the time to share with that. Every time I've watched you share that, it is so emotional for you, which
Yeah.
I think is so tremendous because everyone sees the passion. It makes me think of how Jesus says he makes us new creatures. He makes all things new. He puts a new song in our heart, all those things
All
that
that is true.
yes, all that is true. And the way you present it and the way you share that would make everyone thirsty for what you have and to be and the light in the midst of their darkness. So I just want to thank you for taking us into the heart of who you are. And now let's go into, I don't want to transition too quickly, but I do need to transition how all of this newness that came into you. And there's so many things I'd like to talk to you about there. We're going to have to do another show, just like the drawing of the scripture.
Sure.
And I want people to understand that God will speak to you in many ways. And it might be through an ad in a magazine or an ad in the Yellow Pages that He will use any source that He knows that He can use in your life to speak to you. And so that's a huge lesson in the midst of all the many things that, Joey, that you share with us. So first of all, thank you so much for sharing that.
Sure.
That's so powerful. Well, let's move into now your television network. I want to take about a few minutes and talk about that because that's really, see, this is how you follow the Lord, people. We really got on here to talk about the network. So 30 minutes later, we're going to start talking about the network. But you see, the priority here was talking about Joey and how God has touched his heart, what God's done in his life, how God used him to overcome and transition through hard places in life. And when you get to know, from my perspective, when I get to know who Joey Kenyon really is, makes me want to buy into anything he's doing because it's of God.
Well, bless you.
That's why I wanted people to know who you are, because they'll know that what you're doing is truly through the filter of serving and seeing Jesus in your life. So, and I so appreciate that. And
Can I mention one thing?
Please.
That when you do give your heart to the Lord, when you do, all of those questions you had about certain things in your life will be answered. Not right away, maybe some, maybe a little down the way, maybe further down the way. All of them will start to become clear to you once you take and surrender your life to Him. That happened to me. I got all the answers of why things happened.
Mm-hmm. But it's in that true surrender, isn't it? It's accepting it and that surrender. Yeah.
Yeah, and you can't fool the Lord. You can't just go, okay, I'm going to surrender just about 50%. Nah, it doesn't work that way.
Yeah, because He might just test you on that, right?
Well, and because you're a Christian doesn't mean you're going to be perfect. You're going to be sinning. I mean,
right. Absolutely.
But you know what to do when that happens. So.
Absolutely.
So,
well,
I'm sorry. So.
No, never be sorry. I see. Those are the things that I think that God is prompting us. We always pray beforehand, Lord, help us not to say what we want to say, but help us to say what our listeners need to hear. And I feel like I've enjoyed this conversation so much. But Joy, let's take a few minutes. I do want everyone to talk, to know your heart on this new network, Kenyon Star, and what your hopes and your dreams are and how we can help with that.
Well, Kenyon Star TV came about now over 6 years, almost 7 years. I had a successful television show, the Joey Kenyon Show. I'm wearing my hat here. And through one reason or another, I won't get into it. I left the network, a very successful TV show, to start this network uh, because I saw a void in television. And as a hey, listen, as a viewer myself of TV, I would watch, and with 300 channels, I would watch and say, is there anything on here worth watching? There's violence, there's sex, there's profanity, there's horror, there's
Yes.
graphics, and all. I go, geez, why isn't there something out there for families to watch and get back to what it's really all about? So the Lord literally just said, you're going to do it. And he said, I'm going to help you. And
Mhm.
so that I listened to his voice about that.
Yes.
Uh, and so we started. Um, and I started from just a thought to a dream to a reality. And I just wanted to fill that void and bring out 100% family friendly entertainment, uh, and also 100% family friendly commercials as well, because
Yes.
we know where that's going too. So
Yes.
that's really how it started. And then I knew back then, I did a lot of research and reading about streaming networks, and that was the coming new big blockbuster thing. And I was right. And so I go, I wanted to make it a streaming network. And back then, CBS, NBC, and ABC, and didn't and Paramount and Disney and all that, they didn't have a streaming network. Look at
Mhm.
them now; they all have it. Okay, because broadcast, linear television, and satellite and cable, that's going to fall by the wayside eventually. So I wanted to get in on it, and I wanted to, uh, make this network shine for families globally, actually. And right out of the chute, I said, Lord, I'm giving you this network. Please just guide me to make this successful. So we launched last January, a year ago, January 27th, actually. Me and my wonderful president and co-founder, Kelly Kantz,
Mhm.
who is just fantastic, fantastic. And to date, as of yesterday, we have over, let's see, over what, 9,000 titles, and over, geez, I think right around, let's see, 9,000 episodes on the network, and that's a lot of stuff.
Yes.
And so, and we're adding all the time, but we're hoping that your viewers out there, Kim, will go to canyonstar.tv. You can get there, or Canyonstar TV, and go to the website. And because it's free, we need signups. So if they go there and sign up for free, that would be a real blessing for us. And then we're also trying to go to the next level nationally, and we are raising the funds through private investors and venture capital to be to take us to that next level. So we've got our prayers out for an abundance of financial gain for the network. So
It is just so amazing to me, and thank you for sharing all that. And I'm so honored to have my shows on
your
your.
show is on our network, and we are so excited that you're with us. We really are genuinely love having your show, and judging by the analytics and metrics, you have lots of people watching from the network or through the network to your show. So
Well, thank you. I am very selective about where we put our things because I feel like that's what God would have me to do, and so when I was just so honored when I guess it was Kelly reached out to me and our staff, and it's like, oh, this is great. So I
Well,
just
I told her to reach out.
well, thank you. I don't know.
I'm
Well,
not
people-
taking anything away from Kelly, but I knew I wanted you. I go, you need to get a hold of this gal, and we need to have her show. So,
Well, I just so appreciate it. I really do feel honored because I want our shows to be with those, like you said, not only the TV shows, but the commercial breaks, everything. And I remember you saying to me when Lee and I were having lunch with you, you said something about you want people to be able to, if the kids need to watch TV for an hour while the parents are doing this, that they could be able to sit there and watch it and not even worry about the uh, um, commercials, not being 100% biblically acceptable or accountable. And I love that. And, I have 3 grandchildren now, and they, let's face it, TV, computers, all that, they're a part of children's lives, this live streaming. And we have to be accountable to what we're allowing. Well, we just talked about how the minds are the battlefield. What are we putting into their minds that
well,
the battle?
you make a great point, because why do you think they call it programming?
Yeah.
Because they program you. And how
Yes.
do they do that? Well, they get into your subconscious mind with the program itself. The commercials are famous for programming people.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So we want to deprogram them and put out, you know, wholesome family programming. And hey, listen, if one of those questionable commercials came and said, "Here, we want to give you $1 million to air our commercials," I would literally turn them down, because I have already turned down private investor money because I knew that they wouldn't be a fit.
Mhm.
When we needed that money, I had to stand with my convictions of what we were doing. So
Good for you. And I believe, and I can tell you some stories like that too. It's one of those things I think that God helps you to understand. I think He will test us so that we can understand that we are being allegiant to Him in many ways. And I think that is the building up of the warrior inside us, that we are not going to compromise what God has put entrusted in our hands. And that's another reason, Joey, I wanted people to know who you are behind the scenes. Well, our time is running down, but there's something, there are many things I'd like to go into more, but I don't have time, but I am going into one. One of the things you said that we don't have time to go into, but I want our listeners to hear this. If you remember, Joey said that this began, all that he's doing now with this new network began as a thought and then a dream and then a reality. Those are 3 progressive steps that are very important. I want to just say, Joey, if you'll speak to this just for a minute, and
sure.
then one other place, what would you say to our people today for the many who have a thought in their mind that God has planted in their thought? What would be their next step, would you say?
I have read so many books regarding positive attitude, going forward, doing all of that. One of the biggest influences on me was Zig Ziglar back in the day, and Carnegie, and all of these, and all of them really kind of put it all together, saying, if you can conceive it and you can believe it, you can achieve it. And if you can do that and be willing to take the peaks and valleys along the way, understanding that there is a bigger ending for you uh, at the end of the day. Uh, if you can do that and withstand all of the adversity and use the Lord all the time through all of that, you're going to have a life that is not only fulfilling, but your heart is going to be smiling. You'll have joy, not happiness. Happiness is of the world, but you will have joy because that's from the Lord. And you will have a whole different outlook and feeling on while you're here in this world. And there's nothing, I'm just saying, there's nothing you can't do. I mean, there's so many examples of people in this world that came from almost nothing to be huge in this world. And really, and I say this on my television show, I'll leave you with this, is that the only thing you're going to be remembered for is what you've done to help other people. So just go out there and help someone today. And that's what I would say.
Oh, that's beautiful, and that I want people to, the Bible says, stir up the gifts in one another, and I believe that that's a way. I believe that your words, this interview, not only have touched our hearts, Joy, with just the genuineness of who you are as a man, but your goals and what you're doing, that you are doing to help our future generations, so that we are programming them in the right way. I never thought about it that way. That was I've taken lots of nuggets away from what you said, but just the programming and how serious we truly need to take what is live streaming, what we are putting out there. We will answer for it as believers. And so I hope that many of our listeners, as you're listening on radio, TV, and YouTube, and even through some networks, I hope that you'll go to the Star Canyon TV. We've been putting along the bottom, there you go, www.canyonstartv, and start helping support with your prayers, and most importantly too is with your finances. Let's get behind this, and let's see God provide materials that we want our grandchildren to see, and that we want to be filled in our minds. People, let's remember, our battlefields are right here. So let's put a lot of good things in there so that we can do exactly what God has already declared, that we can be more than conquerors through Him. So let's do that. Joy Canyon, I cannot thank you enough for joining me today. It's been an honor and a pleasure. I hope that we can come back and dive into some of these other issues.
Listen, whenever I can be with you and you need me, you just let me know. I will, but I want you to know how much of a blessing you are to me and to everyone out there. And I'm just wishing every blessing I can for you and your show and everybody around you.
Joey, thank you so much. Thank you so much, friend. And we will definitely be doing lots together. Blessings on your ministry. This Canyon TV, Star TV, it's going to be amazing.
Thank you.
Beyond anything we could ever imagine or hope to even ask for, as the Bible says.
Thank you so much.
All right, my friend. See you next time. Bye. And to our coffee friends, I'd like to thank you for joining us today. And I hope that you'll come back and see us again next time right here on Coffee. Bye, everybody.